What's the difference between knowledge and wisdom? The way human beings evolve makes arise different phenomena. And one of these phenomena is sometimes the people use different words to describe a similar phenomenon. Just the same way that in English we say apple for apple, and in Spanish we say manzana. Manzana and apple are the same thing. It's just in Spanish we say manzana, in English we say apple. But just because we have different labels, different names, that doesn't mean that it's going to be different thing. It's the same thing. So with wisdom and knowledge, it happened the same. Just because the natural process of evolution, people tend to find labels, words to describe things. Someone could argue that, well, wisdom is a superior knowledge. But what will it mean to mean superior knowledge? Because there is, when we build a theory of knowledge, we can say, well, one concept is a simple concept like apple, like a children, like a cup, like a glass of water. Es decir, hay concepts of a single entity. This is what I call concept of a single entity. What does that mean? Pues basically, apple is just apple. But there is a different thing when you try to will in your mind the concept of understand how the economics work. Where does money come from? Understand the education system. So these processes, these phenomena, they are bigger concepts composed of different entities, different things, right? So if you want to understand how a train works, there is many mechanisms inside the train. But there is nothing to understand about how an apple works. It's just you can understand the different parts the apple has, or how an apple makes its seeds to plant a new tree and grows, those different processes. But the idea of just apple is just an apple, or the idea just a train is just a train. So when we define different kind of knowledge, we have different criterions to say how we classify knowledge, because one thing is by the number of entities that a concept include. Another way will be like if the knowledge is subjective or objective. So what will be a subjective knowledge? Something that refers to a subjective phenomenon, like what you like may be different to what I like. So knowledge and wisdom, it could be used in different sense and having different definitions, but it's all about to build a general theory of knowledge, about the different kind of knowledge, the different ways in which we can classify knowledge. For me, I don't see a very clear difference with different characteristics, different ways to classify knowledge, and the different names and classifications we make depends on those criteriums.